Hello and welcome to a Wednesday check-in from the Cronos Watcher. It is the 30th of March. I'm on a slightly different setup now, so you'll have to forgive any bit of all over the place from me. But I'm bringing it to you here from the laptop, slightly different. So if it's a reduction in quality, apologies for that. Just double check we're doing the right thing. Here we are. So as I said on Sunday, or on Monday at least, we're going to change it up a bit, try and skip a day here and there, and I'm thinking of what I'll do after the weeklies still. So we can do a kind of a Sunday weekly roundup and then follow the best price action maybe in the next couple of days after that. I apologise for missing these moves here that we have had in MMF so far. Quite a phenomenal run. We're sitting at 142 at the moment. Today so far we've had an open of 131, had a low of 123 and a close, it's looking, of 142. So we're closing high, it seems, at the moment. All of this obviously on the back of the continued announcements we've seen from Mad Meerkat with their Mad Meerkat Arena, and as part of all of the Mad Meerkat Burrow and etc., they're going to have a click to play game. So that is a huge thing coming up. We're going to have a look at that token. I might bring it up too. So there's a brand new token for the ecosystem. Huge news, and obviously for anybody investing, further encouragement. So a lot of this probably simply accruing value. You can see we had a slow day kind of for Mad Meerkat here, at least on the 28th. So on the Monday, leading into this move, then on the Tuesday yesterday, an open of 121 and a close of 131, a total of an 8% jump. And then today you can see, based on this, the launch of the token we've had, possibly kind of people moving their profits or recouping their positions after getting involved in this after the launch of this token. Who knows exactly what this is, but we had quite a dip during the 4 hour today. You can see I was drawing things on it and watching it at one stage. And this made it down to a low, as I said, of 123 over the course of the day. If we break this down a bit more into hours, you can see what happened was that during the launch of the token, at some stage we had some sort of a very large sell-off here. You can see at 11 o'clock UTC, so we had quite a percentage move there. What was that? 9% overall. Quite a large jump down to 123 or so, and it was completely bought back up straight away and has continued on up to 140 or so. You can see it ranging there within the 144 to 137. So quite a lot of action happening for MMF. It seems only continued upward trend. You can see it when we stretch back out to the daily. Massive moves from MMF. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Not financial advice, would be very hot to buy into at the moment, of course. But we'll move on as well just to take a quick look at Savannah SVN token. After the launch of the MMA token, the MAD token for the Mad Meerkat Arena, SVN was used in that launch. So obviously you can see some quite drastic price action here. There might have been a lot of buying into the rumor. Obviously it was bought up to actually buy the MAD token, and you can see here we're looking at the sell-off. Quite a huge jump. It went all the way up to, what was that, 214. So if we look here on the 4 hour in this candle alone, and that was at 8 a.m. UTC, which would have been during the launch, we had a high of 214. We opened at 202, so a high of 214, and our low already then became, our close was 180, but our low was 156. So we had some, pardon the expression, but complete and utter madness around the token launch. And it was obviously sold off, probably more, it's kind of oversold, I would imagine, at the moment, just due to the fact that people bought into it and then it was sold, and there's probably some profit taking going on at the moment and things like that. So I would imagine, based on the ecosystem narrative, there is a recovery to be had here with Savannah. But for the moment, on the daily, you can see here yesterday we opened at 153 and it closed at 197, just just on the news of the launch and it moving into that. These are the LARP lines I was telling you about before. So we'll see if we correct that pattern or what happens. Does it continue to show some downside trend after this? If we look at our 4 hour, that would look quite worrying. But again, just to stretch out and get some context on the daily, sorry about the weird view here now. You can see that like we have another upwards trend happening here. So we would want to watch out for those $2 ranges happening again. That would signal a complete recovery and a continuation of the upside trend that we had. But we're definitely playing with those kind of 175 ranges, dangerous territories, 170 and 160, where we would see some massive sort of profit taking again. And you can see we've seen those kind of ranges easily with Savannah before, after its ICO. So very shaky ground still here for Savannah at the moment. Just want to keep an eye on that. If we move down to those 170 ranges, I would imagine start settling there on the dailies, then that might signal some corrective ranges for Savannah if things are going to stay quiet for the moment. Again, as a reward token, it can be kind of shaky. You don't know exactly how things are going to play out. So Savannah kind of suffering that launch of the MAD token, but wouldn't be hugely worried at the same time. The ecosystem is still working. It's still part of the MAD Meerkat ecosystem in a way. It was the launch pad for, it was launched through MAD Meerkat and it's been very successful as a fork, Tomb fork. So given just the variables that are going on, it shouldn't be too much to worry about. Again, anybody in LP and staked and things like that is just very happy to see this amount of volume as well. All of that volatility is just rewards to them. So hopefully we see some settling here around these ranges for Savannah and continue some upside trend that we were seeing on the daily, the recovery after we had that drop off back there on the 18th of March. We had settled a bit, we're starting to move back up, and then bang, MAD token launch, and then bang, correction. So we'll see how far we correct back. Our lowest ranges were in the 162 range, so that's why I'm talking about the low 70s and the 60s. Still looks like a big range to be correcting to, but we could easily do that after seeing such a massive downside here. That's what people are going to see mostly. If you think about it, go into the 4 hour chart and they start seeing downside. So that's it for Savannah at the moment. The NESS token is one I've been keeping an eye on. Was thinking we were seeing an upside trend there too, but again, I think it's more ecosystem stuff. It's simply suffered the launch of the MAD token as well, I would imagine. Maybe quite a lot of the people who had bought in over the course of the days we have been launched here and very quiet with the NESS token, it seems, have decided to sell out in order to buy their MAD token and run with that ecosystem play and see what happens. So we would worry at the moment, I would say, with NESS, with some corrective downside ranges having printed two very large corrective daily candles over the last 2 days. So you can see we've had a drop of 16%. It's not huge. It looks worse than it is. And you can see that the volume is still kind of trending down. So quiet for NESS at the moment. It's just a token I'm a fan of on a stable swap platform. I think it's kind of an interesting idea. So it's kind of Frax/Tomb going on Dark Crypto. Definitely do your own research, read into it, have a look at their white papers and all of this good stuff. But certainly I would imagine we would see some more downside range with some simple boredom happening with Dark Crypto. But I'm sure they have announcements to come. They have some staking opportunities on the way. The Dark Crypto ecosystem itself is quite cool and growing. It sounds like the devs are very active. Their mods are very cool and active in Discord and that. So nothing to worry about, I would imagine, here in the NESS token. You can see that after we were slowly starting to correct, we've just suffered some ecosystem narrative. We've seen this in other places at other times with one other DEX that seems to make announcements, one other team at least make announcements and shake the entire ecosystem. So I would imagine nothing too much to worry about with the NESS token. We will see some corrective downside just due to the fact that we have corrected so far. So we might have to push a little further, find a range, a settling range, maybe around that 50 cents range. That would be my lowest worried call, because I imagine a lot of the money here at the moment is probably waiting for announcements and opportunities and things like that. This is, this, I would imagine this could have been a lot worse after the MAD token launch, that we could have seen some real initial liquidity in this project really run away down below, 40, 35 cents. Because I think the ICO range was where did it sell down to? At least was 12 cents. And I think I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember myself. You'd have to zoom in, or we can go to the docs, but the ICO range was around that. I think it was the 10 cents range or something like that. So you can see I'm just marking some ranges on the laptop here for myself just to watch and things like that. But let's keep an eye out for some settling downside to the 50 cents range for the NESS token, just based on the ecosystem narrative again, and waiting for some news with it. Again, there's opportunities on the way, so that's why I've been interested in it and watching to see would there be some upside on this ICO token. Again, as a revenue share token, they have that kind of pattern where they'll do a bump, they'll settle after launch, and then they tend to kind of accrue. You've seen that with the Sky Share. M Share is another example of it. If you stretch their charts out, all of them kind of roughly follows a type of pattern, and it's more just based on how the supply works and that kind of thing for those share tokens. We should do some videos about that sometime, but I'll have them very prepared and have all my slides organized and ready. But that's it for NESS token at the moment. Sky I just wanted to have a quick look at because it was the same, suffering the ecosystem narrative. Huge pullback off those ranges we were talking about. Huge. If you know the gif. At $1,700 I think was our top. So what was our top? It was 1,732 on the 24th of March. We had made it all the way up from, we hit a low of 1,587, so again that important 1,500 range, and up to 1,732, and we were hoping that it might settle on that, find some support around 1,500. But again, ecosystem narrative. So on the 28th here, you can see we took quite a bit of a chunk there, which might have been profit taking for a start as a result of the sort of correction we had seen off 1,700. But you can see a 10% move here on the 28th of March with a 1.8 million in volume. So some profit taking there, maybe in fear of some corrective downside range. And then yesterday and today, you can imagine again suffering the ecosystem narrative of the MAD token launch. So maybe money pulling out because of the $1,500 range correction, plus the news narrative of the MAD token launch now has corrected us all the way down today on the 30th of March to 1,300. It's looking 1,374 at the moment. We're about 7 hours out of closing. So we opened at 1450 with a high of 1438. That's all. And sorry, this is not a high of 1438. I was wondering, but with a low, more importantly, of 1252. So it's looking like we might be closing around the 1300 range. We would be watching out. You can see how hard the corrections can be within single days here, but we would certainly be watching out down towards that 1200 range now. See some correction towards the 1250-ish. If we've anything to look at from prior days, and that's all, is that we might have had a lot of new stable money in the days, I suppose, running from the middle of the month up to now. So hopefully we don't see all of a correction from that. If we see a sort of cascade here for another 2 days, we would want to worry about the $1,000 range. Again, all of this is very significant because the run up to 1,500 has been so parabolic here. It's just something to keep an eye on and be careful of, that with these tokens we have so much fresh liquidity that things can correct entirely very easily. If we zoom out here, like you can see the bottom side of our range there is $200 was its low. So we'd want to be careful just of the $1,000 range being hit in any number of days. You can see we're trending a lot of negative volume, but if we can correct around the 1250, watch out for those ranges, $1,200. If we can find some support around here over the next couple of days, hopefully we can settle after this news narrative and some profit taking off to 1500 and work our way back up there. Ideally, that would be a hopium event, I suppose. The only other encouraging statistic would be that you can see a pretty solid trend up in volume for the ecosystem in general, if we're judging dark crypto by Sky here. So given the fact that, the Cronos chain growing, the dark crypto platform itself growing and adding serious alpha, there's a lot going on in there. Definitely join the Discord and do your own research and etc. But making the ecosystem very attractive for both investors and just normal crypto investors, players, gamers, let's say, gamblers, things like that. Just making the ecosystem fun. Those are all of the reasons that I'm thinking this might settle around there, that $1,200 range, not suffer this correction too much and continue its upside trend. Again, based on volume, based on the narrative, based on ecosystem trends, but we want to watch out at the moment for those $1,200 ranges and see what happens within them. So if we move below the 1,300, definitely then we're looking at the 1,250, 1,200 as some sort of a corrective range, and being careful of the $1,000 because it's very psychologically significant. If we hit there, we could be seeing some sort of cascading event, but I just doubt it myself based on the narrative behind everything. So moving on a little faster now, we'll have a look at CRN here. Just want to check up and keep in with that node project. It's such a popular thing in so many chains at the moment, so many forks. So I haven't really looked at CRN on the laptop, and I don't even know what indicator we have added here. Oh, just the moving average. Yeah. Just messing around with them, I presume. You can see what that was telling us, and we don't need it or any other indicators to tell us that we are finding some sort of a corrective range now here around the $6. That is good news for the ecosystem. Glad to see that we didn't turn down below. I actually am not invested. I should declare and be upfront about that. But again, in support of the project, glad to see that we haven't corrected anywhere below that $5 range again. We still want to be careful of it over the next couple of days. What we're looking for here, again, within, I suppose, generously, it's a 58%. So that is not to put it that way. We shouldn't put it that way, but certainly like volumetrically, and I don't know where our volume is gone. I won't go through adding it back now, but can I quickly, I think it should just be, no, I can't edit from the thing. I can't remember where I put that now. It's, how do I get it back? It doesn't matter for right now, but certainly in terms of volume, we want to see a leveling off here. And if we can ease the sell pressure in any way, I presume now there isn't so much profit taking going on. We can see the ecosystem, the project introduce some positive narrative, some updates and developments. Hopefully, the hopium again would be that we can sort of maybe even just trend slowly down in these ranges towards the $5 mark, the upper 475-ish range. And then from there, see an uptrend with a change, maybe in tokenomics or tax or incentivization for the project. But that's what we're going to need at the moment in order to see this range correct to the upside. But hopefully we can move within that sort of $5 to $6 ideally. And you can see there is a correction in the volume. There is a lack of volume at the moment. The only other worrying thing would be a mass sell event based on news or, again, sort of boredom in the ecosystem. Essentially, a lot of profits get built up and people think, oh, $4, well, I want to sell now. I want to be careful. So want to watch out for any cascading candles like that. But for the moment, certainly we have corrected Today, on Wednesday, we had an opening of 643 and we have a low of 579. Looks like we're going to close around the $6. It's 590 at the moment. But yesterday we had an open of 580 and we closed at 643. And the day before, on the Monday, you can see that we opened there at 548, did have a low of 517, but closed at 580. So again, some profit taking of the weekend, I suppose, and an easing in volume for the start of the week. So hopefully throughout the week now and towards the next weekend, we can just see a nice, easy, gradual volume, maybe correction I would look for, to be honest, towards the $5 ranges, but nothing too drastic again, like we have seen in the last few. So that's a look at CRN. And the one thing I wanted to bring up, I can't remember if I had indeed added it here to the laptop, is you can see we have our warning and all, but this is a token I presume we can trust, is the Mad Bucks. So you can see we're showing a 15-minute here, so this is nothing to go by. We're not going to be looking at trends or anything here really, but just to bring it up with you, if we look at the daily, here's our first day of Mad Token. So our ICO, I can't remember exactly what the launch price was. Maybe our candle will give us a hint if they had listed it right from the launch. So I think it was 50 cents that the ICO price was. So you can see there, opened its listing at 66 cents. And if we go to our 15-minute candle, it's been very exciting for whoever was, I suppose, invested in the first place. You can see it did its little ICO moonshot up there to $9, and we're currently at $407. So congratulations to the team on launching that, and I'm sure once this game starts to take off, it'll be something we might keep an eye on. But again, it's a game token, just to bring it up and show you this is what caused a lot of our corrective downsides and moves over the past couple of days that we were looking at. So literally just ecosystem narrative, pulling all of the liquidity into this new token. And then we see some correction, hopefully, off the back of it. It's an interesting one. You can't always play these trades. You don't know what's going to happen. Who would have thought that Sky, again, would suffer it that much? NESS even had a downturn, and Savannah was the launch token. That was the token that you could buy MAD with. And if we look at that again, you know, this is what happens. Massive corrective downside range after a huge bump up. I'm trying to describe it before it loads. After a huge bump up to buy into the ICO. And this was all pretty quiet, I imagine, from the team. I would guess that, you know, if you were very active in Discord, you might have had hints of what was going on, but essentially no one knew until about 72 hours roughly before. And I think it might have even been 24 was the public announcement, literally 24 hours before the launch of the token. So I think maybe 48. I'm trying to remember what day exactly. It's been a jumbled few running around at the moment, which is why I'm on this setup. So there you go. That is it for Wednesday, the 30th of March. We will be checking back in on Friday, I will imagine, hopefully back in the normal setup and a little more comfortable, a little less as I'm in a sitting room that is unfamiliar and wondering, are people going to arrive in or walk in, or will the door be knocked, etc. So it's been good checking this out. Again, always one to watch for with the token launches. See massive volatility across the ecosystem, and it's something we'll check in on Friday, see how much we've corrected. I'll do some tweets. Keep up with me there. You can follow me in the description below if you're watching. Most of you have made it here from there, so I only needed to say it a few times every episode in the week. And again, thank you for joining me, the Cronos Watcher. We will see you on Friday.